decisions that will impact the community. We leverage land and work with developers. So when you look at how we leverage county dollars with respect to partnering with developers, we always ensure, to Commissioner Collins' point, that there is room or a lot of room for people that find themselves at that 30% AMI level and below. That is our focus, that's our sweet spot. And so whenever we invest public dollars, we are making those investments. So when you look at projects that are coming online in Greer Heights, for example, there are multiple senior housing facilities there where the county invested. We are really targeting and focusing on our seniors. Also, with the new development that's coming online in Eastland, that's another example where our expectation was set as our investment was included in that project. Another thing that we did, and this doesn't directly affect seniors, 100%, but we just passed, and this is where policy is so important. We just passed source of income discrimination protections. And that is really important so that when people have vouchers in this community and public dollars have been invested into certain projects, we have to make sure that people aren't being shut out because they may have a voucher or some other non-traditional source of income that has not been applied to their income. And that has been a huge barrier for people. We also have programs such as the Homes Program. We do critical home repair for our seniors. That's important to keep people in their homes. The Homes Program helps keep people in their homes as well. So when you look at the policy decisions and the policy implementation that this board has enacted, that certainly goes beyond just talking about it.
Thank you, Commissioner Drell.
And our answer from our office standpoint, affordable housing is a top priority for the Congresswoman. It's one of what she calls her 4 H's, which goes along with hunger, healthcare, and higher education. And so we know that we've all seen a decline in affordable housing availability, but the Congresswoman works on the House Financial Services Committee to advocate to expand affordable housing here in the 12th Congressional District. And so also another thing that happened after a lot of the outreach from constituents, the Department of Treasury revised their guidance to clarify the funding that was passed through the local fiscal recovery fund that was a part of the American Rescue Plan Act. What it did was it's directed money to be loaned to affordable housing developments that are currently receiving low-income housing tax credits. And so it's estimated that this change in this guidance will unlock $8 billion in affordable housing initiatives across the country.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Any follow-up questions from the audience? Raise your hand if you have any follow-up questions or need clarification. All right, the panelists have tackled a really big question. Hopefully we all appreciate that. Thank you.
Got a question back there.
Oh, hold on, we have to do it. I'll get back to you.
Good morning, everyone. I have a question about the tax credits with the senior housing. Housing is my background, so I recently retired, and what I've seen is that even when the tax credits are applied, the rents are not affordable because they come in for higher rent than the old Section 8 vouchers and certificates. So how would that be addressed in Mecklenburg to make it affordable to those people that really are the 30%? Is it going to be just 10 families out of the 200 units that can afford? That's the issue that I'm having with the tax credits because they're layered. So if they're layered at 80, 60, 40, whatever the numbers are that are selected by the town or by the builder, the agreement, that what happens is that those who have the least amount of income don't always qualify. And they only have set aside maybe 5 units, 10 units for those persons in that bracket just to claim the tax credit.
There you go.
That's for the people who make more money and can afford almost market rent.
That is exactly what they do.
Thank you. Panelists, any thoughts or comments on the statement from the audience?
I couldn't hear everything you said, but I heard enough. And you are right. It is a problem. And that is an area that we're trying to focus on to make that easier. This is very complex. Housing is extremely complex. And I talk to the builders a lot to help understand their perspective. And many of them want to build more, and they always say, the price of lumber and sheetrock is the same if you're building, an expensive house or you're building an affordable apartment. It's the price of land that makes the difference. So, and then many developers also have told me that a big problem is we have this need for 30%, for folks in the 30%, but he said, if we need to build for the next level up so that some of those people can move, because some of them have got better jobs, they're younger, they've got better jobs, and they can move to the next one up, which will free that apartment. But we're not doing enough of that. And since Dimple Ajmira is not here from the city has done some more work where there's more allotment to build multifamily, like quadplexes and duplexes, that those of us who might have lived in other parts of the country grew up with, as I did in the north, but here in the south, you don't see them too much. That will also help because it's also of the land. So there are things that the city's doing and the county's doing, and I also think we need to lean more on the state to help with this. But you are right. You are right.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochran. Commissioner Terrell, you got something you want to add to that?
Well, I'm not going to just, Commissioner Cochran is exactly right. The one thing that I would say to everyone in this room is that it's important that there's consistent advocacy around the issues that you've seen. So we can't talk about the issues just in isolation, but we've got to really try to galvanize additional support. Our meetings are public. All of our information is public. Anything that you want to tee up and put on the radar, we have examples in this room that I hope come up later around what advocacy and how advocacy can move the needle in certain areas. You have to continue to advocate and to force us to look at these issues and address these issues. There are a ton of competing priorities in this community. And so sometimes it's like a game of whack-a-mole, where this issue is here, this issue. But we have got to your point, find a way to really solve to that, because you can't have, 5 units in a 200 unit complex that are devoted to 30% AMI. I mean, we know, to Commissioner Cochran's point, there are tens of thousands of people that are in that income bracket, but are unable and are housing insecure because of supply. But the advocacy and the consistent advocacy and beating that drum will yield results. It will keep it on our radar. It will make sure that we address that specific issue in question.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other panels? Commissioner Cochran, sir.
Here's an example of another thing that affects this problem. Young people in foster care. Let's talk about the girl in foster care. And when she ages out, she doesn't have family. Her goal is to have a baby. Because then if she has a baby, she's eligible for more services. She's eligible to get a Section 8 housing.
That's it.
And if we did more to help young people in foster care with advanced education and help them and provide more housing for them after that, that could be a big help and would free up spaces. But that's been a problem, and I know there's been some progress on that, but there still needs to be more to help foster young, foster kids, to help them as young adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other follow-up questions from the attendees? We have a question over here, please. Can you speak up just a little bit, please?
Mr. Durrell said that all the information will be able to public. But unless you're actually plugged into a group like one group like this, you may not find out about the programs and the advocacy that is needed. How can we make this information even more public? Perhaps on a local channel, or yes, I know that there was something recently, but just like constantly putting that information out there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those are the, I personally believe those are the ways that information can be a little bit more public. Everybody's on their phone constantly, so they may not be posting to a group, but if something flashes on one of those public networks or on social platforms, there might be more people saying, hey, I might need to go there to kind of listen to what's going on. Oh, and there's another problem. What about those who may not have transportation? So there's other, to me, there's other issues to get more people out to these types of meetings that are that's needed. So how could that be addressed?
Thank you. Members of the panel, would you take that accessibility and we're ready to be available to the information that you're being shared?
I'll respond to that, even though I came primarily here. The fact that you said that today is something that we can take back, for example, to our public information staff, who can take that under advisement in terms of how they put out information. A lot is on the county's website, but we know everyone won't necessarily go to the county's website. But they also use social media. The county does have a presence on social media, so we can encourage the staff to continue to put this information out on social media where different audiences will have access to the information. But we get that kind of feedback often, that a lot of the information we think is out there because we're talking about it at the meetings or it's on the county's website that everyone may have access to it. And the media, various television stations and print media, they will capture a lot of the information as well. But different people receive their information from different sources, but we will pass that information on to the staff. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I was going to say also, thank you for the question. You will find that a lot of elected officials, not just on the county side, but are actively engaged in social media. I mean, actively. We are trying to reach as many people as humanly possible with the information that we have. There's 1.1 million people in Mecklenburg County. As much as I may think personally that I'm on social media and using and leveraging as many channels as humanly possible, I do ask people to follow me, and not to lift myself up, but because I am really trying to make sure that you have access to the information and you're pushing it to your channels. There are billboards that the county pays for. We invest a lot in billboards, signage on our buses, signage in public areas. In addition to the county has a presence on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to your point, but we probably have not solved to being able to reach everyone we would like to reach. We don't get any extra points for not getting the information out. We are desperately trying to get feedback and push as much information out as humanly possible. So thank you for that feedback. I would encourage you to look our names up, to follow. Commissioner Coffin has a huge presence on social media, a huge presence. So if you follow her, you will see her pushing out a ton of information. I try to do the same thing as well as our other colleagues.
And I'll add to that, he said everything about the social media, so I won't repeat that, but for us, our office gets phone calls all the time about the different agencies and the resources that are out in our district. And so making a phone call as well, like he was saying, like, everybody here has that information online, but we also, we have district liaisons who, answer the phones every day to answer questions. If they're not federal related, then we direct them to where they can go for the programs, agencies, any resources that our office does not, take care of, we guide you. And we have Julian in the back who has cards for anybody that, you get the Congresswoman's card and Julian's card and myself that can get you the information that you need after today. If you call our office, he actually answers the phone and he will get you to whoever it is that, some people just don't, use the social media. The information is out there. And as Mark was saying, there's, lots of social media presence, especially with Congresswoman Adams. Our pages are always, loaded with information, but if that is not the way that people get their information, definitely call. And, we have those, answers for the resources that you need.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And I would say that the county does a wonderful job with services, but we do not do a wonderful job in communicating what is available. And that usually shows up in our customer service reports. And we have improved over the years, but we still have a long way to go. I mean, today I assembled some PowerPoints of all the services that affect seniors. And we spend $26 million a year on services for seniors. And I think the big problem is not getting your questions answered, but not knowing what the question is. That's a problem. People don't know what to ask and to whom to ask it. I'm going to email this to Mike, and hopefully he can disperse this to anyone who wants a copy of these pages that have all kinds of resources in it. And I have to say, when I read this last night, some of the things I didn't know myself that the county did. Even though I've been on the board for 10 years, I continually learn great things the county does. But some of these things I didn't know myself. So I think we need to continually work on communication. And again, people receive information differently. And not everybody is on the internet. I'll give you an example of a myth. I work a lot with the homeless population, and I heard that there was a cold evening that there were more beds available, you know, at the shelters. And I called the county, and they said, well, if they just go online, they can see that there are beds available. And I said, Tracy, listen to what they're saying. These people, many of them don't know what day it is. They don't have a laptop in their backpack or a phone. And I said, what I would like is if we had some of the county vans go out and stop on the road and tell people and maybe pick them up and take them to the shelter. But not everybody is on social media, so we have to always remember that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Great questions. And the information you guys, Commissioner Costa, would share between the Council on Aging and the Frankie Mae Foundation, we'll find some way to get it out there and available. We have another question?
We do. I'm Dr. Blake, and I definitely want to thank the town for being here, and especially Pat. Pat is a wealth of information if you need it. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. This is Frankie Mae Foundation, and we ain't playing with y'all. First of all, there's a lot of caregivers here, and we have problems and we have concerns. So we're not just listening for rhetoric and all this other stuff. We're needing services. My father is 93 years old, and he lives with my sister, and we have to help him. And it's hard getting insurance, it's hard getting food stamps, it's hard getting anything because he has a little tiny bit of income. And also, it's hard for me to get some stuff. So my thing is, we ain't playing with y'all. If you listen, anything, y'all know me, I will come down here and talk to y'all. I just need some backup. And if they don't back me up, I'll still go by myself. So my thing is, is, our caregivers, we need help. We cry at Frankie Mae on Wednesday, we cry, we talk, and we need to know each other, right, my sister? And so we're not playing, we're not here to just go and yang, but we're here to hear, how can you really help us? You know, and like you said, those internet is hard to find things. We don't get you 10 hours, what you got. This lady has a good question about the homeless, the population, the housing. That's getting worse instead of better. And it's not helping us. So we're really here to get some really clear answers. Okay? And if not, now, I don't know y'all, but we need to walk down there to see them and talk about it as we do. So let's see what we can do.
Thank you. I'd like to change some of the mailing questions, but we have several questions being sparked up, so let's keep this rolling. We have someone over here, and we have somebody in the back corner over there. Building awareness of these concerns is part of what the reason the panel is here too, so please continue to share.
Hello, my name is Dawn. One of the questions that I have, as being a caregiver, to me, it seems like for all the seniors, the older people, for what they have put into the community through the years, it's much harder for them to get assistance. To me, it feels like, now tell me if I'm wrong, but to me, it feels like a lady or a woman who gets pregnant is much easier to get WIC, food stamps, but a senior, it's much harder for them to get Medicaid, get any kind of care assistance. And it's much harder on the caregivers because all the information and everything that we have to do to fill out, it shouldn't have to take that much information for a senior to try to fill out. For one, a lot of them sometimes don't have the knowledge or the capacity or the reading or the patience to be able to fill out any kind of information. So then they already going to be they don't have that patience. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What can be done for seniors to be able to say, we hear you, we care for you. You put this into the atmosphere. We owe you.
Great question, thank you. Pamela, any thoughts?
Thank you for your question. And I have been a caregiver, and I know it's lonely, isolating, it's frustrating, it can be wonderful, because it's the last gift you give to your loved one. It's the last gift. And you get to spend time with that person that maybe your siblings don't, but it's still hard. It's still hard. You know, I think that we have a lot of people in the community who want to help, but they don't know how to plug in. Especially people who have moved here because their children, grandchildren live here. And they're usually senior citizens, but there are younger senior citizens. And they're still healthy, and they would like to get involved, but they don't know how. And I have often said that, and we have so many faith communities where there's people who will help, and to help caregivers, to give them some respite. But they don't know, I mean, you have a caregiver over here, and then you have the faith community over here, but they have no idea. And I think if we had some kind of a software system connecting faith communities where people could, if they found out there was an opportunity to help over here, they would. But this is a continual problem, I think. And I think, but as I was listening to you, I kept thinking maybe it would be good if the county did some kind of a survey to really try to find caregivers and where we could give them information for what's available. And even a simple thing as a phone call. I know when I was cared for my father for several years, and my mother-in-law, who came from out of town and had a stroke, and she didn't know anybody. I was trying to get somebody to just call her, some nice lady to just call her and talk, because she didn't have any friends. And it was like impossible to do that. But I think if we had more interaction among caregivers, we as a county could better understand the needs, and then we could create something. So maybe Mark and I can work on this in the future, about trying to get some identification of people who would like to be involved, so that we could do that. So, say it again.
I said, let me interject something. When you have those caregivers, you also have to have a vetting process, which is always kind of like the problem, because you have people that want to help, but they may have some kind of background, and they may not qualify to do what they're trying to do.
Right. So what she was saying is, if somebody wants to help, there has to be some criteria, to make sure that it's a safe person who has good intentions. And I think that's a valid point. But I think that I always say the answers are within us. The answers are within us, because you know what you need. And I think we can figure things out.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I could just pause for 1 second, then we'll get back on track. I'd like to introduce Deborah Osmira, City Councilwoman. Just come up and take the podium. Hit the panel stand, please. Thank you for that. Councilman, I think, Gerald, you want to have something to say?
Yes. So first, I want to say thank you for your question, but more importantly, thank you for the spirit of your question. Because I can really tell your heart and where you're coming from when you say that. I want to make it really clear. We only sit here because we care. We're here because we're elected, but you all are the experts. As elected officials, we're not experts in every space. What we do well, or what we try to do well, is to remove barriers and obstacles, take information, synthesize it to improve, and make sure that we get the right outcomes on behalf of the people we serve. So we're not here playing any games, or not here to not attempt to solve problems. And when you tee up a question like you did, in the spirit of which you did, we absorb that. But the ask that I would have as an elected official is for you all to tell us what would improve the processes that you see. What is it that you need? If there is a form that is a barrier to our seniors, if there's a form that we produce that's a barrier to caregivers, if there are obstacles out there, to come together in spaces and places like this, give us a list, give us all of those elements, and we are able to tell you then what we have control of and what we do not. Those elements that we do not, we can then advocate and understand how we address those items or those elements that we need to address. But we don't get any credit for not trying to solve problems for the people we serve. Now, that's not how this works. We are out here on your behalf trying to fight. When our caregiver said that they needed the amount that's raised all goods, you came to us, and what did the county do? Thank you. Because you advocated.
And I've been wanting your life, and I thank Greg Taylor. I thank my county commissioners, because Gracious Living is an adult day and healthcare program. And we asked, for 15 years, we had no raise. But once the state sent it back to the county level and said, hey, you guys can determine the compensation amount now on the state or the county level. When we began to advocate, remember, we hadn't had a raise in 15 years. As soon as it came to the county level, we didn't have to wait 4 or 5 years. It was that first year that it was allocated. Also, I want every caregiver in here to take out a pen and write this number down. The number is 704-432-1111. Now, you're going to hear about resources in a minute, but this is your just one call. This is what Mecklenburg County offers to caregivers. Okay? This is where you call and you let them know that I have a problem. I need services for my loved one. Daddy's 93. I need some help. I'm trying to take care of my parents, and I need somebody to tell me where I can get these resources, how I can get Medicaid forms filled out, etc. Call that number. Again, that's where you begin to get your help. I've had people call me because, they're like, I don't know where to begin. That's the number I give them first. If you need services, if you need help, Mecklenburg County is here to help you. But, again, I'm a caregiver before I'm a business owner. Okay? I care for my mom and have for almost 20 years. So, I can tell you that there are resources, but I also know your pain because it's very difficult to get through a system you know nothing about. You just don't know where to start.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. That, by the way, that's just one call. There are brochures over here, I believe, in the central line of the table, so please be sure to go by there and pick one up if you can get that number. Mike, we've got a question waiting back there in the corner, please. Microphone on, please.
For my elderly parents and for my disabled cousins. I live in the city of Charlotte, in a community that is mostly senior citizens and their caregivers. Recently, American Airlines purchased a home in our community by a ridiculous amount, more than double of what the house is worth. This doubled what the other houses were worth in the community, leaving a lot of our seniors who own their homes not able to pay the taxes on their houses. It increased the rentals in the houses, some of them by as much as $1,000 a month. What is the city doing to curtail all this corporate landlord and rental increases?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. That is an issue that keeps me up at night, is we have a crisis in our city, and that is affordable housing and aging in place. We have many seniors that are not able to age in place because of the property tax increase, because that's associated with the value of the home. So you have to understand that we live in a Dillon rule state, which is different than home rule state. So the authority that the city of Charlotte has, it's what's being provided by your state legislators. So we have very limited tools that are available at our disposal to provide certain programs to our seniors. We could not provide tax abatement. We could not say seniors will pay less. However, the state has this program which is up to a certain amount of homeowners exemption, homestead exemption, that gives you certain amount of property tax exemption. And I understand it's a very small amount. However, it's still a home. Other things your city of Charlotte has done is aging in place program. How many of you are aware of aging in place program? Certainly we need to do a better job. I remember a neighborhood leader from Hampshire Hills, not far from here, reached out to me. and told me about she had an emergency repair that was required in her home. And she lived on a fixed income like many seniors do, like my mom does. And she just did not have the means to make this emergency repair. Where city has dedicated a certain amount of funds towards emergency repairs, so you call the city, and city will look at the repairs that are required, and it can cover up to $15,000 or $20,000. So if you, that's just one program. We have other programs such as aging in place program, for example, older trees, where we have seen trees are, especially during hurricanes, there have been tree damages to the home, and to remove one tree can cost you $4,000 to $8,000. I've gone through this process, so I know. So this fund can also help with some of this tree removal. So if you are interested in some of these programs that are offered from the city of Charlotte, within the authority that we have, please reach out to me. I can pass my business cards, I have some here. But you can always call 311 as well. And they will also offer you assistance with some of these programs that we have. Also, City of Charlotte, their city council is committed to affordable housing, just like the county commission. They have invested heavily in affordable housing, and so have we. Because of the bonds that you approved, we were able to create, to date, 3,500 affordable housing for seniors. I know it's a drop in the ocean, and I recognize that, and we need to do more work. So this year in November, when you will see on your ballot another $50 million in housing bond referendum. This does not impact your property tax. If you support this housing bond referendum, you will not have to pay more in property tax. So I hope you would support that, because this bond referendum helps us create more affordable housing, including senior housing. And we have infused additional $55.5 million from ARPA bucket, which is the federal government that gave us from the COVID money. So far, just in the last 2 years, we've invested over $105 million to tackle our affordable housing crisis. So we need your help. Hope you will support the bond referendum on your ballot. I just can't emphasize that enough, because that is a big help to the city of Charlotte to get this funding out there to enable more affordable housing development for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Folks, we're getting good conversation, good topics, the good news and the bad news. The bad news is this panel is about to adjourn. The good news, twofold, is we do have a lunch and we have a second panel to continue this great conversation. Please keep the pencil sharp and the questions coming. We are about to turn over, I'm sorry, we are out of time. We have to turn over to Pastor White is coming. Go ahead.
I just want to build on just to continue what we're doing today in the community. A lot of our seniors may not know how to navigate Facebook, Instagram, but there are places where they frequent daily, weekly, and monthly. So we can continue to have things in the community at the churches, in the faith community, or even our community associations, where they go every month to have a meeting. If you have information, you can just contact the president of the neighborhood association. That would be so helpful. And then also, if you contact the news media, a lot of our seniors watch the news in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. So if they just had a segment on senior care, senior resources, they wouldn't have to make a call or get online. So everything that was here has been good, but I want to use what where we frequent every day without having to do something new. That's really cut out. Even our senior centers. So if that would help to distribute, disseminate the information, that would help a whole lot. Because none navigate internet for family members who don't have access to the internet. So if we can do something at the places they're already situated, that would help a lot.
Thank you so much. So can we offer a round of applause to our panel being brave and knowledgeable and serving our community? Dr. White. And again, another round of applause for our panel. Thank you all. I kept hearing, how do we find information? How do we get information? What's available? What's out there? Welcome to the Frankie Mae Foundation. Several things. I'm trying to determine which hat I'm wearing right now. I'm Pastor Felipe Grillo. I'm a board member, Frankie Mae, but I also have to do whatever Venetia tells me to do. Right now, I think that one outweighs anything else. She told me to do several things. First, on each table, each has comment cards. Would you please, at some point during the course of the day, fill out the comment cards? There is a box, a purple box, that is located for you out there upon your departure. If you would please place those comment cards in the box so we, as a Frankie Mae Foundation, can better serve you. I got that part covered. I did that. Something else I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to pull another ticket for a drawing. I'm going to ask my friend and county commissioner who is a caregiver, Dr. Willis, pull this ticket for me. Oh, honey.
That number would be the last three, 516.
516. I see somebody looking for somebody else's ticket. I'm gonna get their ticket.
We still need to. Oh,
Parents like, who, me?
This came all the way from England.
Let me take a little liberty as we're talking about the Frankie Mae Foundation and how the Frankie Mae Foundation came to be. The Frankie Mae Foundation came to be as a result of Venetia, my sister, who was our mother's primary caregiver, turning her passion into purpose. And as a result, the Frankie Mae Foundation came to be. But every now and then, I like throwing in some Frankie Mae stories as a result of things that took place while Venetia was being the primary caregiver. And one, my mother passed away at the age of 81. But I remember vividly when she was 78, progressive and stayed in the dementia stage. She called my older sister, Ardise. Venetia worked from home. And it just worked out so that it worked out that she could be the primary caregiver. She and her family moved in with my mom. Venetia worked from home. And at the time, Mom had just started going to Gracious Living. And as she was there at Gracious Living, she called my older sister one day, mad and upset. And my sister said, what's wrong? Why are you so upset? She said, your sister, not your sister, your sister makes me get up every day and go to work. And she sits around this house all day and does nothing. Mama said, I am 78 years old. I have put my time in. I deserve to enjoy my retirement.
once Mom got to Gracious Living, we could not get her to leave. We would say, Mom, you're not going to work. You love Gracious Living. She said, no, I don't. I just make y'all think I do. Michelle, thank you for what you do in Gracious Living, and thank all of those who are here for what you do for caregivers. Thank you so much. Lunch is now served. We are thankful for the, yes.
I'm sorry, I was just, before you make trade with food, we're gonna escort the tables up one at a time. We're gonna have the panelists go first, and then, we're gonna call each of the tables up two at a time, so they don't bump.
Absolutely, and where are you doing that means that you want to volunteer from Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated?
So, what now? Yes, I am a sorority, yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for volunteering. Thank you for being a part. And since you have been tapped by Benitra as volunteer, you all heard her give me directions. So since she's been tapped by my sister, I got to do what they tell me to do. So please follow the directions of our volunteers from Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We are thankful for the food. We are thankful for this gathering. Bless all is our prayer. Amen. If you follow the directions, our panel